welcome back to A Good Pour. I am Kathryn Good, your host, and today we have Dillon Lamberth, who is our Sumner County Commissioner for District 4.
That's correct.
And the main part of your working life is the Assistant Vice President at Farmers Bank.
That's right.
In Portland.
In Portland, yes, ma'am.
Yep. So we met, do you remember when we met? I guess it was probably Leadership
Sumner, yeah.
Which was 2017.
You were the co-director for the greatest class ever.
Okay, see, I get confused because I forget if we were in the same class because I spent so much time with your class.
Yes.
So I was, yes, that's right. Because
you were the year before, and then you and Ray Carmen.
Yes, that's right. Okay.
And then had our class, and then Ashley and I, Ashley Cook and I,
yes.
Were the co-directors the next year. So yeah, we spent like 3 years.
We sure did.
Together.
Yeah. But I was always impressed with your personality and friendliness, and you would ask the great questions. So I think we saw each other at Leadership Sumner graduation last year, and I was like, you need to get on the podcast. So
yeah,
I'm glad you're here.
So glad to be here. It's so much fun.
So talk to me. How did you start in banking? Because I don't know the answer to this question.
So my grandfather was actually a banker, Vol State Bank, if you know that bank around here. Yeah. He was at Farmers and then left to go start Vol State and was the first president over there. And he had the relationships. And so I kind of grew up around it. And then when I went to college and started in accounting and realized that I asked too many questions. I talked way too much to be an accountant. And so switched to finance. And then it was an interesting time. So I graduated high school in 2009. So if you remember anything about that time, that was all the stock market crash and real estate crash and all that. And we literally had to go through college and talk about how to handle people that lose everything. And I realized my heart probably couldn't handle that. And so kind of started looking and ended up doing an summer internship in banking at the bank that I'm at. And so I say that I got in there and never left and never let me leave. But yeah, so I've been there since 2013, full-time, part-time, full-time, actually in college, kind of did it for a little bit. So over 10 years now. Yeah,
oh, wow.
It flies.
Yeah.
So yeah, do that. And then I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Cute kids.
Yes, they
Very
are
cute.
Adorable. They know they're cute. That's the problem, though, because they use that.
There's a pony involved now, right?
There are, yes. So we have a full funny farm, is what we call it. So yeah, there's actually my wife and I built a house on our family farm there in Cottontown. And so my grandfather, my mom and dad, and us all live on several acres. And yeah, we have cows and horses and pigs and donkeys and goats and you name it, it's there. So and then we weren't busy enough. So I said, let's throw the county commission, in there too. So it's fun.
So we talked about politics and leadership, Sumner anyway. And I think I remember you saying you might run one day. So did you just know that was going to happen or always been interested in politics?
Gosh, no. I've always been interested in it, but more on like a federal level. Always been something that, I nerded out on with The West Wing or Scandal or, any of those political,
Scandal was
stupid.
Good.
It was good. We made a joke about it last night. My wife had red wine and popcorn, and she was talking about it. She was like, I learned that from this show. But my family, my cousin, is the state rep in this area, William, and kind of got a little taste of it with him. And then the county commission thing came up. A friend of mine, Michael Guthrie, was in that seat and said he wasn't going to run again. And I started realizing there's a lot of people that have bad intentions here in Sumner County now. And I didn't want the county that I know, grew up with, that I'm raising my kids in, to go in a direction that I didn't value. And so I thought, you know what? If nobody else is going to do it, I'm going to try it. And so here we are.
So when I say good work in politics, I think a lot of people would say that that's an oxymoron.
Yeah.
But talk to me about, one, why do you enjoy it? And two, what good can come from politics?
Sure. Yeah. That's a great question. And I think that's where my heart is. I tell people all the time, I'm interested in making a difference, not interested in making a statement. And I think so many people get in whatever seat, whether it's local, or whether it's even on a board of a nonprofit or in a corporation or wherever it is, and they just want to make a statement. They want to push their own agenda. They want to, put their name out there.
Well, and right now, everyone wants to be on social media, especially from a national,
Yes.
It's like, how many clips can I get? This is what each
Sure.
is equaling success.
Can I get this TikTok to go viral or whatever? So I just want to make a difference in people's lives, because at the end of the day, that's what my passion is. It kind of bleeds over into the banking world. I mean, I get to help people buy a house or build their dream home or whatever that is, and make that difference. So that's what I try to do. And at the end of the day, I think, another thing I always say is God didn't call me to be a jerk. I don't think God called anybody to be a jerk. And even the times where Jesus corrects people in the Bible, he does it in a loving way. And I think that's lost a lot of times in politics, especially in our current political environment, when it's, hey, how can I get social media clicks, and how can I be on some story? And so whether I agree with you or don't agree with you or whatever, I try to just be nice and make friends. And, it's not that I'm going to agree with everything, but at the end of the day, you're still a person. You're still somebody that God created. And I may not agree with your vote. I may not do anything like that, but I'm going to respect you.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that I try to do. And I hope that comes back in politics as a whole.
Yes. So you're right. We don't have discussions anymore. We just have disagreements with name calling. It feels like. What I feel like that is when I'm talking to people and community leaders who I think would be excellent leaders, not just politicians, but leaders, which is we need leaders more than politicians than ever before.
Absolutely.
But because we are in this calling people names and digging up every bad thing anyone's ever done, not just from a federal level, but local politics too.
Absolutely.
People are scared to run. And so we've damaged our future leaders because they don't want their family's name to be dragged through the mud, or their own, or their, it's just the scary, even the best leaders I know, or there's a little bit of a fear there. So, what would you say to that? And how do you have the courage to go in and make a decision?
No, you're spot on. I think the number one question I get is, are you going to run again? And I always say, I don't know, because it really just depends on what the environment is. My kids, I mentioned earlier, are 4 and 1. The internet's not going anywhere. It's only going to get worse. And I try not to live that way, but also you never know what other people are going to say. If it gets to a point where my kids are going to Google their name or my name and trash pops up, I'm probably going to say, you know what, it's not for me. And I respect that for myself, so I've got to respect that for other people, and I totally understand. I think, like you said, we get name calling, or we start making up stories, or take one bit of truth and expand on it. And you got to remember, at the end of the day, that's somebody's dad, that's somebody's mom, that's somebody's daughter or granddaughter, or whatever that might be. And just treat them as people. Mm-hmm. So. Well,
and most of the time I feel like we all agree way more than we disagree.
Absolutely.
It's just we're not sitting in the same room long enough. We don't have any kind of listening ears on at all.
Amen.
Yeah.
It's all, again, how can I make a statement instead of how can I listen and make a difference?
So what has excited you about, it's been hard in the political environment in Sumner County, but what good work do you feel like you've done, or what projects have you been excited about?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's just the general direction. And what I try to do with every vote, with every conversation, is how can I make Sumner County better? A better place to work, a better place to live, a better place to raise a family, a better place to move. I know that's a dirty word right now, but what makes it a better place to move?
People are coming here.
Yeah, and it's not stopping. And you want them to. At the end of the day, my wife is from West Virginia, and so if you know anything about that part of the country, it had a huge coal mining industry that's on its way out, and we drive through towns on the way to her parents' house that are boarded up shops and vacant almost the entire town, and I see the destruction that can cause, and I don't want that to be my hometown. So I want people to be able to move here and be excited about that. How can we have better schools, better, like I said, places to work? I was downstairs here and just listening to the conversations that people were having. They're excited about their business. That's not normal, and I don't want to lose that. So it's not been some groundbreaking thing, but sometimes it's just picking up the phone and listening to somebody that it's just a click of a button, or it's just a word on a page to some people, but other people it's their property. It's where their kids go to school. It's their business that's at stake. And it's just providing a listening ear and also trying to explain, hey, this is why you're getting those answers. Because government is confusing. Banking is confusing. I have that all the time when people call and say, what in the world is going on? If you're not in it every day, there are those misconceptions out there.
That reminds me, something your cousin often says is, he'll get an email or something and he picks up the phone right away and calls. Because, text, social media, all of it, it's just hard to read a person. So I appreciate that you said just have a conversation. So
absolutely,
you're taking after your cousin.
I don't talk as much as he does, but no, he's doing a great job, and I'm thankful for the example. And I think that's I mentioned my grandfather earlier. I mentioned William. I've been blessed enough to have the good examples in my life, and even if it's not family, it's people in leadership Sumner and the contacts that I've met through that, and just realize how awesome this Sumner County and is as a whole, and not just one certain pocket. It's the Hendersonville, the Gallatin, even Portland, Westmoreland. No matter where you're at, good people are out there.
Absolutely. So that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about is we have a lot of cities. We learned that going through Leadership
Absolutely.
Sumner. And, you think about Hendersonville, Gallatin right away, but there's several other places.
So many, yeah.
You get to see that every time you have a commission meeting. So how do you feel like we work together? Sometimes I feel like it's really siloed, and I look for places where I can connect with people in other cities, but it's like we've got all these different different governments, different
Sure.
chambers, different rotaries, so how do you feel like we work together well?
You mentioned something earlier about good leaders, and I think one thing I want to brag on our leadership from a political thing is the mayors of each town. I talk to Mayor Brown, Mayor Callis, Mayor Clary from time to time, and it never fails in any conversation. They mention something about talking to each other. That's not by accident. And one thing I learned going through Leadership Sumner is every town really does have its own little niche, and it's how can we capitalize on that to make the county as a whole better? I don't think Portland would be in as good a shape if we didn't have Hendersonville in the mix, and vice versa.
Right.
There's something for everyone. And so it's making sure that we listen to those different viewpoints. You grew up different than I did, but that doesn't make you're right and me wrong, or vice versa. And so that's what I love about the commission too. It's hard when you get 24 people in a room. In a room that have all different backgrounds. It's very
in different
hard.
Cities, different cultures.
Absolutely
it's hard.
Different way they grew up, different religious beliefs. I think as a whole, Christianity is prevailing here, but that's also changing. And so how can you take a little bit of that and come to the table and have that dirty word of compromise, and just reach across and say, hey, like, you're not wrong and I'm not either, so let's figure this out together.
Yeah, right. Both and. Love it. Well, I knew we were going to talk a lot about politics, but anything, before we move on, just if you want to say anything about banking and good work that can happen in banking, how can the community best help you and the commission itself to move forward? Yeah,
I think as a whole, it's really just getting to know whether it's your commissioner, getting to know your banker. There's a lot of national banks in this area. We've got the regions, the Bank of America, those kind of things. But there's a lot of really good community banks that are probably doing more in your backyard than any of the bigger banks are going to, and can probably offer you better service. Take my company, for instance. When you call, a live person picks up the phone, which is not normal. I was literally unlocking somebody's debit card downstairs, waiting for this interview. So that's not normal for somebody to have your cell phone number and go through that. And so make sure you support local. Get to know your banker or your politician, your representative, whatever that is. They're people too, and they want to help more times than they don't. So I think that's the biggest way a community can support each other, is just get to know your neighbor. We lose that when you're a county of 200,000 people. But at the end of the day, everybody is just trying to do the next best thing.
Love it. Well, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for asking.
Is there anything else you want to talk about with banking? Because you just kind of summed it up. It's really about relationships. And I mean, there's lots of questions I have with banking, because I just am like, I don't know, the money goes somewhere and my husband deals with it. So I don't ask any of the questions. But, I'm sure, money's a big part of our life. So
it is. It's very personal. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one thing that I've learned too is also planning ahead. Nobody wants to think about what happens after they're gone. But it's the same thing with whether it's banking or politics or whatever. How can we help the next generation with that? So yeah, it's hard.
So next generation know about banking? Are we teaching them?
So that's one of the fun I talk about. I kind of nerd out on this stuff. I get to go to the local schools, and I literally have taught people how to write checks before, and because they don't know. You don't write a check anymore. So we're getting there.
So my son, he just got his first job. He got his first paycheck yesterday.
Yeah.
Actually, we were at a concert last night, and anytime the kids call, it's like, oh, what's going on? And so Seth's like, Caleb's FaceTiming me, and he didn't know how to deposit his check. Because everything we've done has been digital or
Sure.
just transfer money, and they gave him a paper check, and he's going, what do I
do?
And what do I do with it? So maybe I need you to come teach him about banking.
Call me anytime. Call me anytime. It's so much. That's what I enjoy more than anything is somebody walking through, because so many people don't have. Thank God that they've got you to talk to, but so many kids don't have that.
Yeah.
Or if they have that, it's not the right example that they really need to have for that. So it's fun to step in and talk through that. Or college loans. That was something that my parents had no clue with, so I had to kind of figure it out myself. So it's fun to get to do that kind of to do good with that kind of stuff.
Well, thank you for serving our county as a politician.
Yeah, no, thank you for letting me be here.
And thank you for doing just everyday good work in banking and kind of financial education, because we definitely need it. And I can see how this generation's going to need it more than ever, because it kind of happens, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I used to walk in a bank and get a lollipop, and the lollipops I feel like are still there in banks, but we actually don't walk in to get them. So.
They're still there, I promise. And we've even got dog treats if you come through the drive-thru with your dog. So
go see Dillon and get a dog
Come
treat
on.
and a lollipop.
Come on.
All right. Well, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Kathryn.